if you're one of our haters who are out there watching.
I want to warn people about hypnoporn.
I need to stay meta.
Like, what?
If Jim would shut up for a second.
Oh, high fidelity.
Okay, don't tell me to shut up.
I'm not whining.
I eat doggies. I eat doggies.
Feels like a party.
Stop that.
It's a war. They have made it so that I cannot be celebrating July 4th.
This is 6 Degrees of Stew. You don't need to stay meta, but I'm glad you're here. Welcome to 6 Degrees of Stew, the podcast that unpacks disinformation, misinformation, extremism, and conspiracies from the unique vantage point of the Stewniverse, home to Stewanon and Blueanon. Before we continue today, a brief disclaimer. The views and allegations discussed in this podcast are based on publicly available information and are presented for informational and analytical purposes. Listeners are strongly encouraged to conduct their own further research, consult original legal documents for specific case details, and critically evaluate all sources for a comprehensive understanding. This podcast aims to provide a balanced overview of a complex subject, acknowledging both TST's stated goals and criticisms leveled against it. Let's begin. Part 3, Internal Divisions, Controversial Associations, and Legal Scrutiny. Despite its meticulously crafted public image as a progressive and socially conscious organization, the Satanic Temple has not been immune to significant internal turmoil and serious accusations. These claims, particularly those concerning alleged ties to the alt-right and fascism, have cast a notable shadow over their public perception and ignited fervent debate among supporters and critics alike. TST, for its part, has consistently denied any association with alt-right or fascist ideologies, characterizing these allegations as baseless. To understand the weight of these allegations, it's crucial to define what alt-right and fascism represent. The alt-right is a far-right movement characterized by rejection of mainstream conservative politics, often associated with white nationalism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, and anti-immigrant sentiment. Fascism is characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and economy. The implication of alt-right media figures suggests individuals associated with ideologies that are fundamentally at odds with TST's stated progressive values. Let's break down the various problematic associations and internal controversies that have plagued TST. Controversial associations. These associations fall into two main categories, those from the founding era and more recent controversial actions. Founding era connections and ideological roots. Shane Bugbee is an American artist, publisher, multimedia communicator, and event promoter. Bugbee began his career as a zinster in 1986, establishing Michael Hunt Publishing and notably published cartoonist Mike Diana during his obscenity trial. He also gained notoriety for becoming an agent for serial killer John Wayne Gacy's art and later publishing Gacy's biography, A Question of Doubt. Bugbee, self-proclaimed as an expert on serial killers, conducted sideshow-style speaking engagements where he toured a collection of artifacts, including Ed Gein's tombstone, drawing criticism as exploitative and over the edge. Bugbee organized the Angry White Mail Tour starting in 2001, which controversially featured Zin writer Jim Goad and was decorated with Confederate flags. This tour drew criticism for potentially mainstreaming white nationalism. His history and associations with figures and movements considered problematic by many raise questions about the ideological company kept by early TST affiliates. He was an early collaborator with Doug Misicko and claims to have been a longtime friend and mentor. Bugbee's relationship with Misicko reportedly began around the time they connected over the controversial book, Might is Right. Content warning for racism and homophobia. This is an excerpt again from the 24-hour stream promoting Might is Right.
I'm going to look for an email. And the first one to email me and says they want to kill the president.
Because we can't find anybody here.
We're going to give you
say something like
nothing.
Foolhardy as that.
Right. Does anyone know who Reverend Thomas Thorne is from the Electric Hellfire Club is?
Never heard of him.
He asked to get off my mailing list, my Might is Right mailing list.
Come on, you're talking about a guy who was thrown out of the Thrill Kill cult, and now he lives in Kenosha.
Yeah, the Thrill Kill cult wasn't really satanic either, buddy. Putting the Baphomet on your CD sells a hell of a lot of CDs, doesn't it?
Yeah, just because you throw a girl in a nun costume in your video doesn't make you satanic.
Well, you did look good in the spandex, though, when you were in Thrill Kill Cult, that big fag band, you fucking pussy dance fag.
Now, who was the singer of Thrill Kill Cult? Was that Frankie? Was that guy's name? I believe that they broke up, him and Thomas, and that's why he was forced out of the band.
Oh!
You lost me. I don't
Hey,
know.
we just
I don't know
got
anything about it.
Guess who? You know all about the gay scene up in Wisconsin.
Kenosha.
Here, you know what? Guess who just won nothing?
Who?
Jarode.
What did he
Hey,
say?
Jarode, nigga. I think we've been cut off the air.
Again?
Hello?
Thomas Thorne pulled the plug.
No, his ass.
Out of his ass. And I tell you right now, Thomas Thorne, fuck you, motherfucker, and fuck anyone who fucking listens to you, prick. You wait, next time I see you, buddy, you come to Chicago. You're all talk, and you're big tough guy drunk. I don't give a fuck about you. And if you do happen to beat me up, I'm gonna get 6 big niggers to do my bidding and fuck your ass in front of me, okay, motherfucker? So don't play.
You got nigger sodomites on call?
Goddamn right, motherfucker, they're cheap. Life is cheap, bitch. It's about the cost of a fucking nickel bullet. You remember that, motherfucker. And I ain't talking any shit. I know people everywhere.
Life is cheap in Indiana.
Regarding his relationship with Anton LaVey, Bugbee asserted in interviews that he was the last person LaVey ordained as a priest in the Church of Satan before LaVey's death in 1997. This claim, which Bugbee himself emphasized, positioned him as having a direct and final connection to the founder of modern Satanism, potentially lending him a unique form of authority or insight into the movement's evolving lineage. He reportedly spoke to LaVey numerous times before his death, with the ordination occurring as a final act. This asserted historical link is significant not only for Bugbee's self-proclaimed status, but also for understanding the complex web of relationships and influences within the broader satanic community at a pivotal time. From 2011 onward, Bugbee was a member of the Center for Healing Spiritual and Cultic Abuse, an anti-cult lobbying group, where he served as an advisor for satanic cults. Douglas Messner, Doug Misicko, was also on the advisory board of this center. Bugbee later became a vocal critic of TST, asserting that the organization began as a prank or mockumentary, and that its original purpose shifted. He has authored a book titled Founding of the Satanic Temple, Their Secrets Revealed, which aims to expose TST's beginnings. In a 2014 interview with The Village Voice and in a related blog post, Bugbee offered a more critical version of TST's history, claiming Kevin Soling asked him to play the role of Lucian Greaves, and that Bugbee initially saw TST as a joke on the public at large, and in general, the grossly inept media. He explicitly stated that, quote, the dissolving of the original idea of making a mockumentary and the rise of a want for a real religious sect seemed to happen very quick. These claims suggest a potentially cynical or opportunistic origin for TST, contrasting with its later presented image as a serious religious and activist organization. Lucian Greaves had planned to write a sequel to Might is Right with Shane Bugbee. This is an excerpt of emails obtained from the Satanic Wiki And this is from Twitter, dated October 24th of 2021. In 2013, Kevin Soling, Doug Misicko, and Shane Bugbee began planning a PR stunt, now called the Satanic Temple. Despite the efforts of TST to distance itself from Bugbee, he was instrumental in making TST a reality. He was a founding member, and he and Doug argued for the inclusion of Might is Right as a foundational doctrine. That email thread has been leaked. On Wednesday, June 12, 2013, at 11:47 p.m., Shane Bugbee wrote, "Greetings, Kevin and Doug. Sorry I missed a Skype session. I've presented to Doug some options on how I might work with you on the Satanic Temple, a great project and something I'm very into. Number 1, PR work. Number 2, obtaining the rights to my version of Might is Right, which includes a foreword from Anton LaVey and a Peter Gilmore afterword. Hell, I've presented more than just these options, but this is a great start. I'm up late night and available to talk. I just need to set up a sort of time as sometimes I take naps on a whim or hit the studio and might not hear the phone over the machines or music or both. My number is redacted. You both are welcome to call at any time. I'd love to talk this evening or next. Can't wait to work with you both on this. Shane." On Thursday, June 13th, 2013, at 10:26 a.m., Kevin Soling wrote, "Hi, Shane. I really appreciate you reaching out. We tried to call you last night, but missed you somehow. Doug had told me of your willingness to assist in various ways, and I would like to take advantage of the opportunity to work with you. PR and promotion is the primary concern since we need to raise money to get the highway thing funded. At the moment, my resources are low, but I am in the process of selling off an asset that will bring in money as soon as I get a buyer. That means one of several options. A, I could pay something small and you just do as much as you feel that covers. B, we can work out some kind of deferment. C, we wait until I have the money. D, you earn a commission from monies raised for the highway effort. Let me know your thoughts on what works for you, and we can try to work something out. Regarding Might is Right, I have to think through this carefully with Doug and David Goonan, who is the third person involved. The issue for me is that while I like the concept on one level, we have been trying to make publications consistent with our own collective beliefs, and that text would not perfectly conform. So I don't know how it fits in the TST doctrine, and it would send a confusing message." On Thursday, June 13th, 2013, at 6:08 p.m., Douglas Mesner wrote, "Sorry, Kevin, I should have given you more context to Might is Right. Might is Right is known as the Book of Satan and is important in satanic lore. Anton LaVey did not endorse the book in its entirety, but enjoyed its florid, anti-God, anti-Christ poetry and its attempt at a strictly naturalistic philosophy, which to the author of Might is Right was a social Darwinistic view. LaVey saw the book as a great leaping off point and pillaged full passages to construct the Satanic Bible. The language of Might is Right is outdated, as it refers to Jews in an ambiguous fashion that I took to mean religious practitioners. However, certain anti-Catholic segments of neo-Nazism have taken the book as one of their own. Shane's publication of Might is Right was a middle finger to the neo-Nazis, and one that did not go unnoticed. LaVey was of Jewish blood. He pillaged the book, and they hated him for it. Shane's edition has a foreword by LaVey explaining how and why he took some passages, discarded others, and created the Satanic Bible. In short, the idea is one of evolution of ideas, just as LaVey took portions of Might is Right and converted into something for his time. I think we are evolving Satanism still further by accounting for what's been confirmed by recent advances in cognitive science, compassion and altruism, selfless actions without tangible benefit, are very real and they do serve an evolutionary function. Shane and I spoke about writing Might is Right 2, in which we would expound upon an up-to-date naturalistic philosophy while retaining the godless poetic style of the first. A TST version of the book, I felt from the start, should contain an explanation of what Might is Right is and what we can learn from it today, while being quite clear about what we also disagree with. On Monday, June 17, 2013, at 9:23 a.m., Kevin Soling wrote, I am concerned about releasing bits we disagree with under the TST name. What was your vision on how to handle that? On Friday, June 21st, 2013, at 9:57 a.m., Shane Bugbee wrote, Greetings all. Sorry for the delay. I had to take a week off. As for the PR work, I'd like a combo of the options. Maybe a deposit up front, deferment payments, and if all goes well, a bonus or balloon payment when the fundraising for the highway effort works. As far as Might is Right, seems like you need to talk that one out. For me, I've never seen the bits that are intense that hard to explain. They are shocking, yes, but explainable. As I see it, Might is Right offers a great weight of legitimacy immediately to TST. I think the foundational and underground respect is what is lacking for a pyramid business to be built. Might is Right will also bring a lot of attention. Why not produce it as an ebook with links and editorial additions? This might help springboard the second version of Might is Right, the one Doug spoke of working on with myself. If the book is broken apart and explained or added to, I think that would be a great start to exposing your true intent. So let's get a deposit worked out and let us get to work on pushing the fundraiser Monday. It's important to start the push. So we could start working on that push and who and how will hit this weekend and run at it on Monday, Tuesday of next week. Might is Right and Doug Misicko's past. Doug Misicko's own prior engagement with the Might is Right ideology has been a point of contention and a critical focal point for understanding the evolving ideological landscape of TST. In 2002, Misicko notably participated in a podcast that actively promoted a reprint of this controversial 1896 book, Might is Right or Survival of the Fittest, and he also created illustrations for the reprinted edition. Content warning. This is an excerpt again from the 24-hour stream promoting Might is Right.
Well, I tend to feel that racialism can be too general at times. I think there should be eugenics policy, population control policy, something that ensures quality reproduction, but on racial grounds I really don't see it, because you got to admit, you meet some black people who are smarter than a lot of white people you met, and vice versa, and all the rest. And if the top notch were the ones breeding and carrying on, that would be the best way to go.
Yeah, there are gray areas. There's overlap, but on the other hand, you might see a white crow sometime too, but most crows are black. I mean, if you judge the black race by its whole, you must come up with the idea that they're definitely an inferior race.
Well, if that was
but
being the
if
case,
you're saying that there's mixed race blacks, mulattoes that are sharp and smart, and once in a while there's a jet black Negro that's very smart, sure there is, and there's a lot of stupid whites.
But that being the case, you still wouldn't have to enact racial laws. You just have to enact intelligence laws, and if that was being the case, then that good segment of the population would have to drop off. You could still do it on an equal level around the board.
Well, we'll leave you the project of raising the IQ of the black race to about 140, and I'll be standing by when you're successful.
That's going to be quite a task, I think.
That's going to keep you busy for a long time.
I don't think the average white IQ is anywhere near 140. In
That's
fact,
true,
last I
but
heard the average
they're
is...
on the par. They're higher than blacks by probably 20 points. Most of the Third Reich people, including Hitler, they were all above 120, and most of them were about 140.
They actually took IQ tests?
Yes, they did while they were in Nuremberg prison awaiting trial. And the lowest IQ in the whole bunch was Julius Streicher, and he was 120. So I think if you do an IQ test in Europe among the educated whites and then try to compare it to blacks going to any university in the world, you're going to see a difference. They've already done that, to where they have upscale blacks going to these schools down in Maryland, and they were doing worse than the white kids doing in Appalachia. So, no, don't ever forget race is a very important thing.
Absolutely. I know my sister always says how blacks have only been civilized for a few hundred years, so they're never going to catch up. I'm never going to be older than my older sister. So
I've heard that some estimates are that they are supposedly around 250,000 years behind as a race. And of course, I'm not convinced we even come from the same source. I have a very hard time believing that.
I agree with you. I think that there's different species of humans or human-related beings. I don't think that we're necessarily the same species as blacks or Asians, or any number of other races.
If you'll read the works of Carlton Kuhn, he pretty much brings forth the idea of separate development of the races in different areas of the world, not all in Africa. We may have come from another planet for all I know.
I'm with you there.
This text, written by Arthur Desmond under the pseudonym Ragnar Redbeard, explicitly advocates for a social Darwinist worldview, asserting that power dictates morality and that might makes right. It promotes themes of radical individualism, elitism, and a rejection of traditional ethical systems like altruism and compassion, often presenting a bleak, nihilistic perspective on human nature and society. The book's core philosophy is one of brutal self-interest where strength and cunning are valorized and weakness is seen as a moral failing deserving of subjugation. It argues against concepts such as equality, sympathy, and democracy, viewing them as hindrances to the natural order of the strong dominating the weak. The article, Instructive Bad Reading Part 1, Dissecting Fascism with the Help of Might is Right, from the Northwest Progressive Institute, details how might is right aligns with various fascist tenets. It emphasizes the book's glorification of violence, its profound contempt for the weak, and its outright rejection of empathy and universal morality. For instance, the book argues that concepts like justice and fairness are merely tools used by the weak to restrain the strong. This philosophical stance stands in stark contrast to TST's current stated progressive values of benevolence, empathy, and justice, as enshrined in their 7 fundamental tenets. Critics contend that Misicko's direct involvement in promoting and illustrating such a text in the early 2000s raises legitimate questions about the foundational beliefs and early ideological influences of TST's leadership. Specifically, the book's themes of social Darwinism, elitism, and a rejection of conventional morality, which are central to its fascist leanings, present a stark philosophical divergence from TST's stated tenets of compassion, empathy, and justice. This early association invites scrutiny into how deeply these early influences may have shaped the initial intellectual framework of TST, even as the organization now publicly disavows such ideologies. The tension between this historical connection and TST's contemporary activism is a recurring theme in critiques of the organization, promoting ongoing debate about the authenticity and evolution of TST's progressive stance. Doug Misicko's past problematic behavior and statements have also drawn significant criticism directly addressed by Queer Satanic. The Queer Satanic article, Why Haven't You Left the Satanic Temple, provides a direct critique of Misicko's past, stating that he made concerning remarks about Jews and eugenics in a 2003 podcast conversation titled, Might is Right, specifically citing the podcast link. Content warning. This is an excerpt again from the 24-hour stream promoting Might is Right.
Now, what about the concept of eugenics? Do we see that being implemented any time in the U.S.?
You know, I think eventually there's going to have to be population control, and that's where it'll start. Then if you're going to start controlling the population, then you can start getting into the argument about in what direction you control the population. Why don't you use it towards a eugenics end, or at least curb dysgenics, which is opposite eugenics for those who don't know, the concept being that the stupidest people breed the most. Which seems,
exactly.
It seems axiomatic at this point. It's just a given truism.
Quit speaking French.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jared.
I mean, I'm sure you and I would be doing this interview through means of telepathy by now if it wasn't for these humanitarian curmudgeons running the show for so long, allowing inferior genes to taint ours.
You notice it's these do-gooders for the freedoms of reproduction. I don't know, with the whole Catholic opinion on it, they're really degrading the quality of human life.
Oh, totally.
Everything they do brings us down deeper and deeper into a cesspool, and they do it on so-called moral grounds. It's disgusting.
What we need is a revolution. That's what we need. Wipe the
I
whole
think
thing
Amy's
out.
made a very good point, and that is that if eugenics would have been implemented years back, we wouldn't be experiencing these defunct presidents, these fucked up people that are somehow found themselves in a degree of power. You know, they wouldn't even be a reality right now if it wasn't for these humanitarians allowing these imbeciles to breed.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. Amy has a great theory. She thinks people should have an IQ test before they can fuck, or not fuck, but breed.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's common sense, and unfortunately that ain't too common.
Hey, let's get the showers back and start fucking sticking these pieces of shit in the fucking showers and start burning them up. Hitler had a good idea.
Well,
in many cases, abortion should be mandatory.
Absolutely.
This podcast, originally hosted on Misicko's personal website, featured discussions that align with the book's controversial themes, including its anti-Semitic and eugenist undertones. The inclusion of such topics in a publicly available podcast further underscores the nature of these earlier ideological leanings. The article further emphasizes that Misicko's continued association and promotion of figures like Tom Metzger, the notorious American white supremacist and founder of the White Aryan Resistance, and the book Might is Right, reinforces fundamental contradictions with TST's stated progressive values. Metzger was a significant figure in the white nationalist movement, known for his anti-Semitic and racist rhetoric, and his organization promoted violence and racial hatred. The reported promotion of Metzger's work, even indirectly, through the context of Might is Right, suggests a past willingness to engage with or disseminate deeply offensive and discriminatory material. These unearthed comments and associations are cited as evidence as a pattern of reactionary words and actions by Misicko, further undermining the organization's claims of being a progressive and inclusive force. Later controversial figures and actions. Augustus Invictus Incident. The association with Augustus Sol Invictus, an American far-right political activist, attorney, blogger, white nationalist, and convicted felon, has been one of the most glaring points of contention regarding TST's ideological consistency. Invictus gained notoriety through his controversial political activities, including a run for the Libertarian Party nomination in the 2016 United States election in Florida, where he advocated for radical views such as repealing several amendments to the U.S. Constitution. He is also notorious for his involvement in the violent Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in August 2017, which resulted in the death of counter-protester Heather Heyer and numerous injuries. Invictus was later convicted in relation to his involvement in this event. In a more recent development, Augustus Sol Invictus was also arrested on January 6, 2021 in the U.S. Capitol during the insurrection. His presence and subsequent arrest at an event attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election results further solidify his alignment with far-right anti-democratic movements. Furthermore, it has been reported that Invictus is serving as one of the lawyers representing the Proud Boys, in a $100 million lawsuit against the U.S. government related to charges stemming from the January 6th events. In August of 2025, the DOJ, under the Trump administration, sought to have the lawsuit thrown out. His involvement as legal counsel for a prominent far-right group in a lawsuit directly tied to the Capitol insurrection further emphasizes his deep engagement with and support for extremist legal and political agendas. This direct involvement in an event of such national and international significance adds another layer to his problematic public profile, reinforcing his extremist leanings and commitment to disruptive political action. Invictus was initially invited to speak at the Left Hand Consortium, an event organized by the Left Hand Path community in 2016. This invitation immediately generated severe backlash and condemnation from various anti-fascist leftists and even some satanic groups, who viewed it as a betrayal of progressive values and an unacceptable normalization of extremist ideologies. Following this widespread criticism, Invictus was disinvited from the event. However, the controversy intensified when Doug Misicko publicly announced he would not attend the Left Hand Consortium himself, stating his withdrawal was in protest of Invictus's disinvitation. Misicko framed his decision as a matter of principle concerning free speech and the slippery slope of deplatforming, arguing against the suppression of speech, even from individuals with abhorrent views. This stance drew severe criticism from many who argued that prioritizing abstract free speech principles over directly condemning a known white nationalist and convicted felon whose rhetoric and actions contributed to real-world violence and a direct attack on democratic institutions was a profound moral and ideological failure. Critics asserted that such a position inadvertently provided a platform or legitimacy to an individual whose ideology is diametrically opposed to the values TST purports to uphold. This incident highlighted a significant tension within TST's public messaging and the perceived actions of its leadership, raising questions about the organization's commitment to anti-fascism when confronted with uncomfortable free speech dilemmas. Mark Randazza Association and the Great Schism. TST's past engagement with Mark Randazza, a lawyer widely recognized for his right-wing affiliations and for representing numerous controversial figures associated with the alt-right and neo-Nazism, sparked a significant civil war or Great Schism in 2018. As detailed by a Vox article, TST's decision to retain him pro bono for a civil liberties lawsuit against Twitter was controversial, with critics arguing that hiring a lawyer with such overt ties to the alt-right was a, quote, disgraceful lack of judgment that caused deep internal division and high-profile departures within the organization. The Los Angeles chapter of the group disaffiliated in protest, calling Randazza a Twitter troll and an agent of the alt-right, while the co-head of the New York chapter resigned and left the organization. The lawsuit against Twitter stemmed from an incident where Corey Feldman, who previously claimed demonic forces have influenced his life, retweeted another user calling for the Satanic Temple headquarters to be burned down. The tweet read, "I doubt nothing anymore. I have them. In Salem, Massachusetts. Opened a satanic church last year. The witches are evil, and Satanists and cults are very real. With a church like this should not exist, burn it. Blame Hillary. I don't care. It's got to go. If anyone likes this idea, they are fucked." Doug Misicko retweeted it, asking his followers to report the original tweet as harassment to Twitter. Instead, Misicko's own account was suspended indefinitely. It was later restored. TST filed a complaint with the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, alleging discrimination in a public accommodation on the basis of religion and unlawful retaliation. Randazza was retained pro bono for the civil liberties case. Many heads of individual local chapters expressed concern about retaining Randazza, especially because Misicko and TST were also simultaneously publicly fundraising for the suit, despite being represented pro bono. TST chapter heads and local councils organize and run local events and meetings and funnel at least 90% of any profit from local events and fundraisers to the national level. Randazza's controversial clientele extends to prominent alt-right and neo-Nazi figures, including Alex Jones, founder of InfoWars, notably in cases involving the Sandy Hook school shooting victims' families, Mike Cernovich, a Pizzagate proponent and right-wing author, and Andrew Anglin, the publisher of the neo-Nazi website The Daily Stormer. In Anglin's case, Randazza defended him against a federal lawsuit for orchestrating an anti-Semitic online trolling campaign against a Jewish woman in Montana. The Great Schism was not solely about the decision to hire Randazza, but revealed deeper fault lines within the rapidly growing organization. Concerns included a perceived lack of transparency in the National Council's decision-making and appointments, a lack of diversity, seen as predominantly white and male, the absence of an ordination program, and ad hoc fundraising practices. The dissent was expressed in a letter signed by 27 chapter heads representing 19 chapters. As a result of the Randazza controversy, 3 chapters, including those in Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, and the UK, disassociated themselves from the national organization. Doug Misicko acknowledged the optics were wrong, but defended the decision, stating, "But we couldn't turn down pro bono help." This highlights the tension between strategic necessity and ideological alignment. The David Silverman controversy. A more recent controversy emerged in June 2023 when Doug Misicko was photographed with David Silverman, a controversial figure in the online atheist community, accused of sexual harassment and transphobic remarks. Silverman previously served as the president of American Atheists from 2010 to 2018. He was terminated from this role in April of 2018 following complaints of financial and sexual misconduct. Specifically, BuzzFeed News reported allegations of unwanted sexual contact from 2 women. One woman, identified only by the initial R, described an incident at the end of the 2015 American Atheist Convention in Memphis, Tennessee, where Silverman allegedly forced himself on her in his hotel room. The complaint stated she experienced physical penetration and sustained bruises. Another woman, Rose St. Clair, alleged an incident in 2012 at the annual Secular Student Alliance Convention in Columbus, Ohio, where she became intoxicated and felt pressured into going to Silverman's hotel room and having unprotected sex, feeling her interest in working for the organization was exploited. Silverman denied these allegations through his lawyer, stating he had never had a non-consensual sexual encounter. American Atheist, however, stated his termination was due to a loss of confidence, stemming from violations of internal policies on staff management, conflicts of interest, and their general code of conduct, rather than directly over sexual allegations. Silverman later briefly served as executive director of Atheist Alliance International in late 2019, but resigned shortly after. Queer Satanic in What's Going On with David Silverman and the Satanic Temple details the backlash Misicko received from TST members, including the departure of TST UK and his subsequent responses, which were perceived as inadequate. They further highlighted Silverman's background, including his removal from American Atheist due to allegations of misconduct, and his later embrace of right-wing ideologies, which includes identifying as a conservative and expressing views critical of elements within the atheist and social justice movements, such as feminism and the Me Too movement. He reportedly described himself as red-pilled, a term associated with men's rights activists and anti-feminist online communities. And in a September 2022 podcast episode titled Feminist Tyranny, he asserted that women are using feminism and the Me Too movement to secure personal privilege. Queer Satanic also explored the reactions of other TST members and affiliated groups, revealing a divide within the organization regarding Misicko's actions and leadership. This photograph drew immediate outrage and calls for clarification. Anti-fascist stance and alt-right allegations. The Satanic Temple as an organization explicitly positions itself as fighting against the alt-right. However, critics portray TST as a crypto-fascist organization, with some members being outright neo-Nazis. Queer Satanic highlights Doug Misicko's comments on anti-fascists, where he reportedly claimed that, quote, anti-fascists suffer from cognitive dissonance and that they are the ones acting like fascists, and his defense of Milo Yiannopoulos' right to free speech. Additionally, alleged associations between TST National Council members and alt-right figures, such as Greg Stevens' friendship with Mike Cernovich, are noted. In January of 2017, Misicko reportedly overrode a local chapter in California to tell the hate site Breitbart that the Satanic Temple opposed counter-protesting Milo Yiannopoulos, suggesting a pattern of centralized control. Critics from Luciferian Dominion view TST's leader as demonstrating detrimental and immature behavior. This is an excerpt from an interview I conducted with David from Queer Satanic. 2024, what was the schism then?
No, so that is the biggest one since 2018, maybe bigger than that. The two things that happens, and I am assuming they're related in some way, but I think I'm making a bit of a leap here. The Dead Domain video came out in April of 2024, and that just got like, I think within like the first week, it got like 100,000 views. So suddenly,
so that really caused I didn't know it had that big of effect.
I mean, what I think it did was really ratchet up the tension, because so many, like, the usual thing is people go, oh, this is all old news. This is just Queer Satanic stuff. We all already know this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you actually sit down and watch that video, people who didn't know, like, you know all of this stuff and you're still in TST? Really? Like, that's the thing that, like, causes them to, like, talk among themselves. Like, wait, why are we supporting this? And the thing, like, we already know this, is actually a really bad answer to, hey, here's 2 hours of terrible shit. So I think that was part of the tension and stuff. But the inciting incident was Doug more or less unilaterally canceling SatanCon. They were going to have another convention.
That's right, SatanCon.
And so they were like, man, this sucks. And TST Ministry was almost like its own functional subculture. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I just mean that, like, they were people who wanted to be ministers and wanted to do like, you know, quote unquote real work. They wanted to make rituals. They wanted to, like, be clergy. They wanted to, like, service people around them. And some of those people sucked, but, like, not all of them sucked. And they had kind of their own relationship to Greg Stevens. And Greg Stevens, or Priest Pinamu, he got kicked out. Again, this is my supposition, because he was starting to get people that were more loyal to him personally than to Doug or Kevin. And so, like, there's a pattern of them just, like, kicking those people out. And so that tension is happening. You have Dead Domain, you have Greg Stevens getting kicked out, you have SatanCon, and then a couple of ministers just, like, privately shared some, like, memes mocking Doug. And it was just, I mean, they weren't even, like, that mean spirited. It was just like, is such and such in the room with us now? And it was just like Doug's face. It was that kind of thing. And Doug kicks out one of the people from that, because they didn't even share it publicly. They shared it, like, in a small chat, but someone in that chat leaked it to Doug.
I think I listened to a podcast about this incident, like when we first talked. I think I remember. I'm gonna have to dig that out and refresh my memory.
Tom and Talia Levin.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
They did their Satanist Next Door chat, and once Stephen Bradford Long got fed up with all of this bullshit, Doug needed a new, like, outlet, and so those guys stepped up and got promoted, and they threw a bunch of their people under the bus to kind of move up. As far as, like, I mean, maybe they did this for purely, I don't know, true believer reasons. They didn't think they should be okay. But there's a part of me that's like, you saw other people that were higher up in the organization than you talking shit, and you're like, I can betray them and, like, move up this ladder.
I'll go up the path. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that's my perspective on it.
Right. That seems to be what made sense. They kicked off, though, this thing because, like, Doug just in email was like, you're out. Right. Again, in a religion, one guy cannot fucking expel you over an email. That is not what a religion does.
Can you imagine the Pope, like, not talking to everybody and just being like, that's it, be gone? Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or, you know, any other structured religion, you know, I that's just
right. Like a pastor, again, like a pastor
of a church. Yeah.
I was raised in Southern Baptist tradition, and I understand this is not typical of all churches, but, like, a pastor can't just fire somebody. Like a pastor could recommend to a board that we should fire this guy because of, statements critical to the pastor that makes us look bad or whatever. But if the pastor's being thin-skinned, that committee is not going to follow through on that. Like it's not just one guy who owns everything and can't be replaced. So that kicked off a whole thing, and a bunch of people started resigning, and then like whole chapters resigned again. And that article that was the Satanic Temple and its eternal nobodies or something was just me trying to track the first basically like 3 weeks to the end of the month of that. And a couple more things happens after the end of that I kept some track of. But I mean, it was just like so many people that were just fed up with Doug and thought the religion was bigger than him. And he was saying, no, it's not. I own everything. And it happened before, right? And they just didn't listen. That like when he says, I would rather have a small, insignificant, meaningless organization that is under my thumb than a big one that's outgrown me and is effective. Like he more or less says that, like outright, that's what he wants. And they didn't listen until like they started getting insulted and they were being told they were nobodies. And so for a lot of those people, I don't have a ton of sympathy for them because they saw all these previous things and they like rooted for it. They rooted for TST going after me and my co-defendants, threatening the Satanic housewife. Like they gleefully.
You guys are just embittered. Like you don't get it. Like that group, like Queer Satanic, just has a grudge. Israel, Palestine, and TST. Recent scrutiny has focused on the Satanic Temple's position or notable silence regarding the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. While TST as an organization has avoided issuing any direct statements, public records confirm that co-founder Kevin Malcolm Jerry Soling not only voices strong support for Israel, but also personally owns and operates the nonprofit Alliance for Integrity and Justice, Ltd. This entity is registered solely to Soling in Massachusetts. It actively targets the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions Movement, BDS, reflecting Soling's belief that opposition to Israel is tantamount to anti-Semitism. According to reporting by Queer Satanic, Soling has described himself as, quote, an unwavering supporter of Israel so long as it remains democratic, pluralistic, and protects human rights, and has publicly rejected accusations of Israeli abuses as, quote, lies to marginalize Israel. These personal convictions, combined with Soling's key financial and legal role in TST, shape the temple's implicit stance on this international issue. The lack of organizational transparency and public comment on Palestine leads to further criticism that TST's priorities on human rights are often guided more by ownership than by open debate among rank and file members. This is an excerpt from an interview I conducted with David from Queer Satanic. Well, now I think, I know we were talking about the school stuff, but this ties into his foundation of the nonprofit. I don't have the name off the top of my head right now to counter the BDS movement.
Yeah, Alliance for Integrity and Justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And when you read it, I don't know if you've been on the webpage recently, but it's been updated and a lot's been taken off of it. At least when I looked at it today.
I
it doesn't have as much information as what you have now that you had saved, but and the articles that he wrote, there's like Palestinians, like who cares?
Yeah,
Palestinian children, right?
Yeah, I remember he actually did this thing.
I'm looking for the quote here.
So he has a quote he gives to the Times of Israel that I was saying.
Yes,
like,
that's the quote I'm thinking of. Yeah,
which is very similar to what Netanyahu just said about how the IDF has been instructed to like shoot Palestinians coming to the like food aid stations.
Yes,
and Netanyahu said that's blood libel, and that's what Kevin Soling as Malcolm Jerry. So again, he's using his pseudonyms to try to like create this distance. So there's no actual like scrutiny on who he is and what he's doing with people's money in TST. Even though this one, he's openly associating TST with Zionism, with a pretty bloodthirsty version of Zionism, honestly, because he's saying that like, oh, like all of these well-documented things that even like, is it Haaretz is the Israeli newspaper that's like
Yes.
left liberal. Like that is an Israeli based newspaper, and like you're saying the interviews they get, the like stuff that they publish, oh, that's like anti-Semitism, and it's just nuts. That like, yeah, again, listen, this interview that came out in it was a couple years ago, so it was like what 2015, 2016, something like that. 2016, yeah. But like he doesn't change his tune since then. Again, the TST went full on in support of Ukraine when they got invaded by Russia, and then as we've just seen, no end of like videos and people like talking about the way their lives have been destroyed and just the policies of Israel both in Gaza and the West Bank. TST has nothing to say about it because Kevin Solling is a Zionist, and
I found the quote. Here we go.
Yeah,
I got it. He says that Judaism and Satanism can coexist. Okay. And he says there's parallels between Judaism and Satanism. The false accusations that have been thrown at Jews historically are similar to what some people say about Satanism. Says Jerry, that's Kevin Solling we're talking about, mentioning accusations of blood libel and more recently fabricated.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Allegations that Israel perpetuates genocide against Palestinian children. I do not accept when people delegitimize Israel or use lies to marginalize Israel. I'm an unwavering supporter of Israel so long as it remains democratic, pluralistic, and protects human rights.
Yeah, and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and then
what world are we living in?
Yeah, exactly. And it came out later that he had blocked the promotion of somebody in a TST St. Louis local group because that guy had been part of, I think it was Students for Justice in Palestine. And so I also assume that the nonprofit Alliance for Integrity and Justice is a swipe at Students for Justice in Palestine. You're saying like, oh, they have no integrity. But I mean, like, I don't know, it's just wild. It's just wild to me that this guy is someone who controls half of TST and where all the money goes and stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's like the Alliance for Integrity and Justice. Like they have the project proposal. It's pretty in depth. I'm sorry, they didn't change their page. It still looks the same. I was just looking.
They did actually in a couple of years.
Oh, okay, they did. Okay,
so I
wasn't crazy.
We grabbed we archived it.
Okay,
and then noticed that they'd updated it more recently. But like they were saying all the things they were saying about this when Palestinian resistance was just BDS. Like they were saying that like BDS, it goes too far and it's like anti-Semitic. And so it just goes to show there was no way to ever like have Palestinian resistance that would ever be considered acceptable.
No. That was interesting. Stay tuned for the next episode.
We're going to have to be smart. We're going to have to be strategic. We're going to have to be aggressive.
I'm an alpha guy.
I'll flip a table every time you aren't getting by.
Let's go. Just push.
It's all psychological warfare.
We know what they are doing.
For Trump.
If shit goes wrong, like I will literally have to leave the country.
Stop that.
I'll land my initial plane.
Okay,
Hi-Fi.
This
isn't the Hi-Fi show.
Good night. Nighty night.